politics, and I'm going to explain why that is. Have you ever considered why people are almost forcefully encouraged to play the so called game of office politics? Well, the reason is as simple as it is complex. And to play these games is to degrade yourself because you're stooping to someone's lower level. Notice how playing mind games and being passive aggressive, underhanded is only applauded in the name of work and so called strategy. Understand that if you decided to be the same way in other aspects of life, people would look at you like something was wrong with you and they wouldn't be wrong. Because why is it acceptable to be passive aggressive, snide, and a saboteur in an environment where professionalism is expected? And why do we consider these tactics and these ways of conducting ourselves professional? In a world where you have to spend nearly half your adult life getting education, you're spending tons of time and tons of money trying to better yourself only to switch gears and act like a loser when you actually get the job, when you're doing the work you're being compensated for. Is that not the reason we can't stand, we as in the masses, not myself, people like Jeff Bezos, people like Elon Musk? You hear all the time they don't know how to get along with people. They're self interested, they're greedy, underhanded. Yet, and still, if people were being honest with themselves, not only have they participated in similar behaviors, but they probably have friends who have, they probably have other colleagues who have, and either they're standing back and watching as a bystander, they secretly admire them because we're taught to believe behaving this way is a flex, or they're actively doing this or learning enough to try to do it, hence the toxic Robert Greene fans in the room. To play office politics is to succumb to the crab in the barrel mentality. It's a mentality that dictates if you want to succeed, there's only room for one or two of us. If you want to succeed, that means you think you're better and we have to try to stop you. Because while it may be true that within one organization there is a finite number of roles to be gained, there's also a whole world out there. It will always be true that there are ample opportunities if you know where to look, if you know how to look. So if you keep that in mind, thinking abundantly, so to speak, you would understand and accept that your current situation isn't the end all be all, and that there is more out there if you are courageous enough, confident enough, and savvy enough to go out and get it for yourself. A person who is devising strategies and takedowns for people they work with are never going to see that. And if they do, it's only because another person brought it up and now they're going to be toxic and start competing with them. Consider this. We've all, or many of us, have been in situations at work that were trying. People were jealous. Maybe people were trying to sabotage our work. There's a number of messed up things that could happen on the job. We know this. Now, for some of us, you reach your breaking point. And maybe you started thinking about, well, comebacks when someone says something snarky. You start tailoring your thinking on how to respond to people who are triggering you or messing with you, and think about how much time you've lost to dealing with ratchet people at your job. Think about all of those minutes, hours that you could have put into working on a personal project, reading and studying to develop a skill that will get you out of that situation. Office politics serves to distract you, to throw you off your game so that you're in service to the game of toxicity and narcissism and not in the game of life. In the game of life is being self-interested, because your success will only ever be determined by you. Think about all of the stress your body experiences having to deal with people in a way that's unnatural and unbecoming to who you are. Every woman isn't cut out to be passive aggressive and snarky. Personally, it would take a whole lot of energy to think up backhanded compliments. Why? Because I don't have the bandwidth for that sort of behavior. It's not interesting to me. When I'm around a person that's making me feel uncomfortable, it may not even be something they did. You just get a sense of people. And that's something to never ignore. Regardless, if I don't care for someone, I'm leaving them alone. Because I'm professional and respectful, I'll exchange the expected niceties. Hello, have a good day. Keeping it at yes or no questions, no open-ended questions. That is part of how you keep conversations short with people. And I go my own way. A lot of people are incapable of that. Why? Because they're indoctrinated in the game of office politics. They have nothing better to do. They have no skill sets to develop. They've hit the wall when it comes to opportunity, and now they're planting their focus on someone like you. Someone who has focus, someone who has a skill set, that has talents and abilities that will get them somewhere. They want you to start playing the game so that eventually you no longer have options. Why? Because you've been BSing with them. Because they've been able to lead you away with a carrot dangling in front of your face, getting you to react and devise and scheme alongside them. And let me tell you this. If you find yourself being pushed into that direction of game playing, eventually you're going to be just like these people you claim to dislike. You already are becoming them. You're developing their mindset of like play for play, like comebacks and sabotage. You're already playing with their tactics. They're in your playbook now. You are slowly but surely becoming them. This is what people mean when they say the abused are more likely to become the abuser. Why? Because you understand now how the game was played. It's in your psyche. However damaging it was to you, you know it, and on a subconscious level, you understand it. So, with all that being said, how do you overcome playing the game? Because protecting yourself and being strategic is imperative to your survival, not only in your womanhood and your personhood, but in your career. Now, I'm going to go based on experience, not just what's in the books, because I feel like books usually talk from a perspective of best case scenario, and a lot of us aren't living that. So first and foremost, creating distance is important. And this will be more difficult or maybe easier depending on how your work situation is set up. If you have your own office, perfect. I wouldn't suggest always having your office door closed because that sends a message among everyone, not just the people that you're trying to ignore, that you can't be bothered. What we want to do is distance ourselves from problematic people, but still be open to the people that are positive. So you can leave your door open, but maybe you'll have headphones on. You can leave your door open and you welcome an exchange of ideas and brief conversations, but always be ready to pivot and have something else to do. Oh, well, I need to hop on a call in a couple minutes. What can I do for you? Oh, I have a hard stop at X time. Can we settle this in a few minutes? Or we can touch base at some undefined point in the future. So you're not blowing these people off. You're being professional, but you're not setting firm dates so that they never have a specific time they can get to you. A second recommendation, if you're able to control the privacy settings on your calendar at work, then you need to do that. Especially if someone is in a lateral position to you, if someone doesn't need to know your schedule, they shouldn't have any means of seeing what you're doing, because I do believe that is a tactic people use, because I've worked in environments where everyone's personal information, for whatever reason, was just out there. People absolutely obsess over you and track where you're going so they can see what you're up to. So if you can add more privacy to your work calendar, do that. If you have a paper calendar and you usually keep it on your desk and you're in a cubicle so you don't have a locking door, you need to stop doing that too. Keep your personal calendar in your bag. Make sure your bag is tucked away somewhere. That will help you out. The third suggestion, be careful of who you get stuck in a bathroom with, or any sort of meeting room, any place with a closing door. It's been my experience that problematic women in particular will always try to get you somewhere where you're alone. They're going to block the door so you can't leave, and they're going to start engaging you in conversations that are either circuitous, argumentative, or intrusive. I had an experience with she was lateral to me, but had something of supervisory responsibilities. And it would always be the case when she'd go off, it would be in an empty bathroom or when we were in the office by ourselves. And because this woman was like not a minority, wink wink, because she was older, I knew that if she started getting aggressive, if I tried to defend myself, there would be way more blowback on me and pressure and punitive measures placed on me, not her. So don't get trapped in spaces with these people. Point 4, you have to grapple with yourself how important responding to people is. Now, this is tricky because sometimes expressing yourself verbally just isn't the thing to do. It's amusement to abusive, toxic people. It sounds like radio silence when you're speaking to someone who really doesn't care about your well-being. So sometimes you have to let your actions speak louder. Sometimes it may be doing or going against what we feel is the right thing to do. For instance, if you always greet people warmly in the morning, maybe you're going to have to stop doing that. Maybe you only say good morning and hello when your boss is around, which is a mean girl strategy. Playing the part in front of the people who matter and letting the mask drop when those people aren't around, right? Maybe instead of the warm greeting, you give them a wave or a head nod. That is a socially acceptable thing to do among different groups of people. Maybe you just do that. The point being is finding ways to conserve your energy so you're not expending it on people who are ultimately a drain and a waste of your time. As we come to the end of this discussion, I want you ladies to keep in mind that no situation is permanent. Some of the most bitter people I've ever worked with have seen their job as the end all be all, whether they wanted to be there or not. At a certain point, whether that's marriage or responsibility of children, they felt like they had no other choice but to stay there. And it's just simply not the case. It's not to say that making a change won't be hard, because it will be, but staying at a job you hate with people you dislike is also extremely hard, if not harder, than learning a new skill or going back to school. You are worth the investment of time and finances if and when you're ready to change your life. The option to improve is always there. You have to know this, but more importantly,